Welcome to Cinema Chop Shop. Watch, chop, retrofit.
So I don't know if you guys heard the latest news about Dunk Baby.
What?
Dunk Baby is stepping down from professional sports because of how hard he slammed that ball last Sunday. Because there's an investigation that's pending, and he just wants to go kind of step away. The slam heard round the world. Dunk Baby, hashtag Dunk Baby, the baby that dunks. This is not an Academy Awards podcast. Welcome to Season 10, Episode 21 of Cinema Chop Shop. This is a movie podcast that concedes that remakes are going to happen. So why shouldn't movie buffs,
like us,
decide who is recast in those iconic roles? My name is
Julius Travis Caesar, a.k.a. Viva Zapata.
Yes.
A.k.a. Last Tango and Travis.
Oh. And I'm joined here in the shop by my co-host and co-producer. Why does it have to be in Travis? I'm joined here in the shop by my co-host and co-producer, Sean the Waterfront, a.k.a. The Wild Sean, a.k.a. Sean-Eyed Jax. And in our third seat, the Chop Shop regulator, Julia Chelcaesar.
Hell yeah.
A.k.a. Chelcianora, a.k.a. Apocalypse Now.
What?
Apocalypse Now, but with Chelsea in it. Apocalypse Now.
Okay, I hear it.
Apocalypse Now. Further description of the show, the tagline says, watch, chop, retrofit, because essentially that's what we do here. We watch older movies, sometimes they're classic films with iconic actors, and then we retrofit them by tweaking the design with new parts. Disclaimer though, you guys, you are forewarned, we're not actually in favor of the remake, reboot, sequel-dependent cinematic culture.
That's truly the heart of darkness.
This is more of an exercise in satire and irony. We try to be funny.
And sometimes we make them an offer they can't refuse.
All right, with that, we're going to go into our first segment, which is going to be movie news. And this is where throughout the time between episodes proper, we pay attention to stories that relate to the world of cinema, that relate to recasts or biopics, or that you, the chop shoppers out there, might find interesting. And we hope you do. First, we have to start it off with an RIP. Rest in peace and rest in power to Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins, dead at 50, found in his hotel room in Colombia. They were on tour there, supporting their new album, the 10th album, which I have not yet heard. I hear it's very metal. What a loss.
Yeah, he just made his big film debut in Studio 666.
Which was awesome. I think we've talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
And it really is just a huge loss. And he had been with Foo Fighters since their early stages.
97.
They fired their original drummer, or parted ways with their original drummer, and then very quickly he joined the band. And prior to that, he had been the touring drummer for Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
Go Canada, right?
Hell yeah. We love him too.
So once again, huge loss. Rest in peace, rest in power to him. And then probably the biggest story that came out of the Academy Awards ceremony this past Sunday, the Queen of Basketball won the Oscar for Best Documentary Short. It was produced by Shaquille O'Neal, Steph Curry, and Dunk Baby. It's the story of Lucia Harris, and it only gets better. It's now won an Oscar. And just like his longtime Los Angeles Lakers teammate Kobe Bryant did 4 years ago, in another category, Shaquille O'Neal can now say he's an Oscar winner as well. And that comes to us from ESPN. Next, Ezra Miller, star of The Flash, is arrested in Hawaii for disorderly conduct.
Ironically, not arrested for flashing.
I guess we still need to talk about Kevin.
Per authorities via Variety, the star of The Flash and Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, was removed from the karaoke bar where Miller, quote, was allegedly yelling obscenities and, quote, became agitated when people began singing karaoke. At a karaoke bar.
I don't think he
What
knows.
a fucker.
I don't think he knows how those work.
Police say Miller refused numerous requests from the bar owner to, quote, calm down, then allegedly, quote, grabbed the microphone from a 23-year-old woman who was mid-song and later lunged at a 32-year-old man playing darts. So he's on some other shit.
Well,
right now.
he also got kicked out of a bar like a week prior.
Really?
For kind of pulling the same shit, being a little shithead.
Whatever happened to the perks of being a wallflower?
This is what happens when you fuck with the Speed Force.
All right, we've got another one here. Bruce Willis, guys.
Oh.
Bruce Willis has been diagnosed with aphasia, and I have to be honest, other than the fact that it is a disorder of the mind, a brain disease, I don't really know much else. Chelsea, can you expand on that at all?
So the part of it, the aphasia part, the prefix, I guess, means like language.
It can be caused by a tumor.
There's like 3 or 4 different types.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it just comes down to not being able to express any language or being able to understand it. The most common way you get it is from a stroke. Okay. The other is brain tumor, but also like a brain injury. So
right.
I'm wondering how this happened to him.
Is it something that occurred on set? I've never heard whether or not he was big on doing his own stunts. I would think that...
I heard something about a blank from a gun that was fired at the wrong time.
That's the other thing that could happen.
Might have... Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff surrounding this, and the guys at Red Letter Media started to touch the iceberg on this before the truth came out from the family, because there was a lot of speculation that he had dementia, which is why he was doing all these, as they call them, geezer teasers,
right,
which is where he works one weekend and fills about 15 minutes of time on a movie and gets paid $2 million. I think I texted you since 2019, he's done 23 films.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, he's been
over
cranking
20.
them up. So the speculation was that he was bankrolling for his family. So when he finally backed out of film, they were taken care of.
Yeah.
So it's really sad that this is
super
the way it's gone down. But the good thing is I think that in the end, we're going to remember him for all the good shit he did.
Yeah.
You know, the Die Hard, Pulp Fiction, Hudson Hawk.
Yes, of course. And, you know, his brief stint as a musician, Bruno.
I love that album.
All right. So our hearts go out to him. And we've got a couple more stories. And these came out on April 1st. So I hope they're not April Fool's jokes, right?
Yes.
First, Jim Carrey has announced that he's almost pretty serious about retiring. He says Sonic 2 will be his last film.
Well, go out on a high note, I guess.
He's had a good run, not very recently, but there was a time in the early 2000s where he was making like prestige pieces, like highbrow art movies.
Oh, Eternal Sunshine,
for example. Yeah. It's just kind of weird, his arc. He says he likes his quiet life. So, and of course, he was a record breaker in like as being the most paid actor at certain times in his career. Oh, also another interesting story. This one deals with a biopic. They're making a George Clinton biopic about the godfather of funk and the Parliament Funkadelic. And who is playing George Clinton?
Eddie Murphy,
which is, I guess it's a solid choice. He does have a little bit of a musical acumen.
Party all the time.
That's all she wants to do is party all the time. And I don't know, I cautiously await that movie. Chelsea, any thoughts on that?
No.
All right, that's going to wrap us up on movie news for this week. You guys hear a phone ringing? That must mean it's time for the Department of Corrections Department with Chief Corrections Officer Dana.
Avast, me hearties! Everybody Loves Raymond ran from 1996 to 2005. Peter Boyle was 61 when it started, and 70 when it ended. That's really all I got. Shout out to Long John Silver's, which got its start in Lexington, Kentucky. Sadly, we only have one store left in Lexington, and it's about to be demolished so that one of our local library branches can be expanded. No word yet on whether or not it will reopen somewhere else, but I'm not getting my hopes up. Me tears are watering down me grog. See ye scurvy dogs when we set sail again next time.
All right, that's going to close the doors on the Department of Corrections department for this week. And thank you, Dana, for that. And I'm so glad that we didn't have to walk the plank after any of our errors. This brings us to the theme of the episode. Born on April 3rd, which is the day when this episode should go kerplunk. In 1924, we're talking about the films of Brandon Marlowe. I know I'm a day late, but did I April Fool's you guys?
Yeah, that was
For a
good.
quick second, you guys
Totally
thought
fooled.
Marlon Brando Jr., in fact, was an American actor, considered one of the most influential actors of the 20th century. He received numerous accolades throughout his career, which spanned 6 decades, including 2 Academy Awards, 2 Golden Globes, and 3 British Academy Film Awards. He's definitely a very prominent figure in American cinema, but he's also a polarizing figure, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. He's had his outbreaks and antics
Right?
throughout his entire career.
How do you feel about him in terms of his acting ability?
If you just look at the work on film, he's very accomplished,
Right.
very good. He's talented. He can cover a wide range. And again, if you just look at the work and
Right.
don't get
If you
confused,
separate
or
the art from
distracted,
the artist.
absolutely, the work is solid.
And if you don't separate the art from the artist, if you look at the person,
I would hate to fucking direct him.
I would hate to work with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Just watch the documentary about the
Island of Dr.
Moreau, and
Yes.
that's all you need to hear.
Chelsea, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this actor. I know you watched a couple of his big ones for the first time this past week. Is that correct?
One,
Okay.
but I watched Julius Caesar within the last year and a half for the first time.
I think we did Roman.
Yeah,
movies or
we
something.
did, and I watched it for that. So yeah, I mean, he's a good actor, but sort of some of the shit I'm finding out about him,
Right.
I don't know.
That being said, I think we've got a couple of pretty interesting choices for our recast tonight. But before we get to that, we are going to get into our next segment, which is the Midnight Double Feature. The Midnight Double Feature is where each of us around the panel suggest 2 films that we feel are viable candidates for a double feature. They might not be movies that we actually like, but we feel that they have enough of a connective tissue, a tangential relationship, that they would pair well together. Chelsea, could you go ahead and give us your double feature? I'm dying to know.
I sure can. I watched Apocalypse Now for the first time.
Okay.
Holy shit. I can't believe I have waited 35 years.
Yeah. I feel the same way about another movie we're going to talk about tonight. But what really stood out to you? Was it his descent into madness?
I think it was the whole picture.
Yeah.
I mean, Martin Sheen was so fucking good in it.
Yeah, he's really
Holy
good.
shit, he was so good.
You see a lot of what Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen would look like later in the
I think
young
he's
Martin
the perfect mix of
Yes,
both of them
yeah.
in that. Brando reminded me of Billy Zane when they had the weird close-ups of
That's
just his eye.
interesting that you say that, because there is a Marlon Brando biopic in development starring Billy Zane.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
The movie is long, but it felt like it sort of went by within 20 minutes. I was so engaged the entire time.
You watched Redux?
I did, because that's what I'm pairing it with. So this one's from 1979.
Okay.
I'm pairing it with 2001's The Redux.
Oh, so did you watch both of them?
No, but
okay,
I still feel like I can do that.
Okay, yeah. So what do you think are the biggest differences between the movie that people saw in the theaters and then the Redux version?
So just based on what Sean told me were the added in scenes, there's some context that you miss otherwise.
Would have been lost.
And so I'm glad I watched this one first. Yeah. And I'm not even mad about the length. It was so fucking good. God,
Very
it was so
nice.
good.
And Sean, can you expand on that between the different the differences between the versions?
There is an entire scene with a group of French people who are living in Cambodia that they happen upon, and I think Sheen hooks up with one of the women at that thing. That was the only time Sheen has some sort of sexual, predilection, where the other ones, they have they chase after the Playboy bunnies, which in the Redux they actually hook up with the Playboy bunnies.
Okay.
There are also some very short scenes leading up to the arrival at Kurtz's encampment that kind of fill in some gaps about how crazy the rest of the crew had become. That being Chef, who, by the way, is the Army surplus store owner in Falling Down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, made that connection. And Lance. So if you watch the original, it's like you kind of know everybody's losing their minds, but there's a gap. And they're like, oh, well, they obviously have lost their minds. But this kind of fills in the spaces there.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very, very important.
That's awesome.
And Chelsea had fun identifying Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
Larry Fishburne.
It was so
Lil
sad.
Larry.
Well, the other thing, the scene where they are trying to surf with what's his
Robert
name?
Duvall.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Sean was like, "This is the craziest thing you'll ever see." Blah blah blah. And coming from a military background, that scene in particular struck a chord with me.
From like an R&R perspective?
No, you're in the middle of this war, this battle, and all of this death and destruction is going on around you. And this guy just wants to surf.
Yeah.
And it becomes a coping mechanism, much like the fucking reason I hate Michael Moore, who put in Bowling for Columbine a bunch of these young soldiers on camera comparing killing people in the Middle East to a fucking video game. And it's like, what the shit would you do? They're 18. They're children.
All right, Sean, over to you. What is your double feature?
I'm going to try to be brief because we're going to go in Redux link on this episode.
Excellent.
Sorry, not
No,
sorry.
you're not. That's fine. I'm kind of doing like a second fiddle double feature, if you will. This is going to be, for example, I'm starting with Brando's other Tennessee Williams film.
Okay.
And that's going to be 1960s The Fugitive Kind.
The Fugitive Kind.
And this is directed by Sidney Lumet. And it's based on Orpheus Descending.
Okay.
And it's a cool movie. I love this. I'm not going to get too much into the plot other than he plays a character whose nickname is Snakeskin. He's a guitarist who wears like a snakeskin jacket. So he goes to New Orleans. He's a drifter. He has like a questionable past. He starts working in a shop of like a general store kind of shop. And it's run by this older Italian lady and her awful, awful cancer-riddled husband who lives upstairs and constantly beats on the floor with his stick. And she has to go up and check on him. He's being pursued by Carol Couturier, played by Joanne Woodward, as well as a simple housewife named V. Talbot. So everybody's vying for his affection, except for the Italian lady. And of course, that's the one he kind of takes a shine to.
That's how it goes.
But the interesting thing about this movie is that everybody in this film is sleazy. There's this greasy sheen to everything except for Marlon Brando's character Snakeskin. He is shot in the same lighting as somebody in that time would shoot a beautiful woman. He's very glamorous looking, whereas everyone else is very dirty and just plain.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this weird flip flop that you would see from that time period. So it's cool. I really like it. I think this is far superior to the other Tennessee Williams Marlon Brando movie. I'm following that up with The Freshman from 1990. So this would be his second fiddle mafioso character, where he was essentially imitating his Vito Corleone character from The Godfather.
You kind of stepped on my joke earlier. I said, was this before The Graduate? Because The Freshman?
Yes, I get it. I get it. Directed by Andrew Bergman. He was the writer-director of Striptease, Honeymoon in Vegas. He was also the director of It Could Happen to You. It stars Matthew Broderick, Marlon Brando, Penelope Ann Miller, and Bruno Kirby. Broderick is robbed moments before arriving in New York. He sees his mugger several days later. He confronts him. The man promises to return his property and get him a job with his uncle, Carmine Sabatini, played by Marlon Brando. He turns out to be a mafia boss. He does the shady work for Carmine. He discovers an elaborate underworld that that's caught the attention of the authorities. And things come to a head. Not everything is what it seems. And also there's a giant Komodo dragon.
Oh.
So.
Okay. And of the two of them, which one would you recommend?
Oh, The Fugitive Kind. The Fugitive Kind. Seek this movie out. It's highly underrated.
It wasn't The One-Armed Man. All right. I've got a double feature in which Marlon Brando is playing famous military figures. revolutionaries, if you will. The first one is Viva Zapata from 1952, directed by the great Elia Kazan. And it's got a 61% on Rotten Tomatoes. Mexican rancher Emiliano Zapata, played by Marlon Brando, becomes a revolutionary when corrupt President Porfirio Diaz, played by Fay Roop, ignores the needs of his people. Zapata, his brother, Eufemio, played by Anthony Quinn, and Northern rebel Pancho Villa, played by Alan Reed, also a white guy, band together behind Diaz's political opponent, Francisco Madero, played by Harold Gordon, also a white guy. Harold Gordon, excuse me. But when Madero's administration, particularly General Victoriano Huerta, played by Frank Silvera, not a white guy, proves just as corrupt as the one that it replaced, Zapata is spurred to further action. So it's a historical movie. They definitely took some liberties, especially by casting white dudes as Mexicans. But it is an example of Marlon Brando playing a revolutionary figure, a very, for his people, revered revolutionary figure. And then I'm going to pair that with 1954's Desiree, directed by Henry Koster. We've got no rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but also based on real events involving Napoleon Bonaparte, in which Marlon Brando plays Napoleon Bonaparte. And I think it's been established that Marlon Brando is not French. Desiree Clary has met the love of her life, and his name is Napoleon. In the beginning of the movie, before he changes it, it's Bonaparte. But then he changes it to Bonaparte. I don't know why. But their love is a difficult one, as Napoleon's rise through the military ranks takes him away from her, and they both eventually marry other people. Years later, as Napoleon seems destined to rule the known world, the two cross paths and attempt to rekindle their romance. But when Napoleon's reign comes to an end, their relationship may not be able to survive. I liked this one better because it's a little bit more believable. At first I was like, Marlon Brando playing Napoleon, and then I saw it and I was like, okay, he's kind of pulling it off. And you think of Napoleon, you think like stature impaired, the Napoleon syndrome. And Marlon Brando's not a small dude. He definitely kind of pulled it off. And at least he wasn't playing an ethnicity that was completely out of his ballpark. So yeah, that's my double feature. 2 Marlon Brando historical biopics in which he plays military revolutionaries.
Nice.
All right, that's going to wrap us up on the Midnight Double Feature for this week, bringing us to the feature segment, which is the Recast. And this is where we take a predetermined film and we watch it in advance, and then we talk about it a little bit, and then, just for shits and giggles, we hypothetically recast it with contemporary actors who are at the height of their powers. And the first film is a controversial one. It is The Last Tango in Paris from 1972, directed by Bernardo Bertolucci. And he was also the director of The Last Emperor, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And this has an 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. I feel like that might be a little bit high.
Agreed.
Way too high.
Distraught following his wife's suicide, American hotelier Paul, played by Marlon Brando, becomes transfixed by a beautiful younger Frenchwoman named Jean, played by Maria Schneider. When he meets her by chance at an apartment both are attempting to rent, the couple begin an extended but purely anonymous sexual relationship in which they do not even tell each other their names. But soon it becomes clear that the couple's deliberate level of disassociation cannot continue. The movie itself, just for the amount of sexual content, made it controversial.
Yep.
It's NC-17, right? But there's more to that controversy. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Could you give us a little...
I will.
Okay.
All right. There's a scene in which Brando uses butter as a lubricant and sodomizes her. And I watched this scene, and I felt really fucking uncomfortable watching.
Did you know about it ahead of time?
No, I knew nothing about this. I felt really fucking uncomfortable watching it, so I typed into Google Last Tango in Paris, and the second fucking thing that pops up is butter.
Mm-hmm.
And I read more than one article, but I heard that she had no idea that this was happening.
That's what I have heard as well.
And then I heard how much this director took advantage of them and how fucking disgusting he was. Mm-hmm. And I refused to watch the rest of the film. And I fucking refused to check it in.
Was Brando complicit, though?
Yes, he was. I do have a quote from the fucking director.
Yeah.
And this just nails in the coffin. So he says, it was in the script that Brando had to rape her in a way. Mm-hmm. And we were having breakfast, him and Brando, on the floor of the flat where we were shooting. And there was a baguette and there was butter. And we looked at each other, and without saying anything, we knew what we wanted. But I've been, in a way, horrible to Maria because I didn't tell her what was going on. Because I wanted her reaction as a girl, not an actress. I wanted her to react humiliated. If it goes on, she shouts, no, no. And I think that she hated me. And also Marlon, because we didn't tell her. And there was that detail of the butter used as a lubricant, and I still feel very guilty for that. Fuck you. Fuck this guy. Fuck this guy in this. Fuck this movie.
Up.
So awful.
And I think that pretty much spells out the controversy.
Yep.
Man, like today, that hopefully that would result in somebody being put in prison.
I think so.
I don't know though. I fucking don't buy this because you still hear this trope of I wanted the reaction as a real human, not as an actress. And it's like, fuck you.
It's not worth
you
it.
don't get to do that.
Well, we mentioned the Bruce Willis aphasia thing.
Mm-hmm.
We failed to mention that the Razzies have rescinded their Bruce Willis award in light of that diagnosis. But they also rescinded an award for Shelley Duvall, or named after Shelley Duvall, or was it her Razzie?
I think it was her Razzie
for The Shining, because of the
treatment she received,
infamous treatment she received from the director Stanley Kubrick. And there has to be another way. Well, like, I don't think that tricking people into a performance
and this by no means even comes close to this kind of violation. But it's like when a director tells an actor, "I want you to punch him," and he doesn't tell the other actor that you're going to be punched because he wants a real reaction. That's bullshit. You've got to, it's informed consent. You have to let your actors know what's going to happen. Otherwise, you are assaulting them by proxy.
And all of that, we're keeping all of that in mind as we recast this movie. Chelsea, do you have recasts?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. The roles of recasting are Paul, played by Marlon Brando, Jean, played by Maria Schneider, and then Thomas, played by Jean-Pierre Léaud.
We should talk about who he is. He is Jean's boyfriend, who is a director slash actor, gonzo director, and he's forcing her into his film, always shooting with his crew of people.
So, Chelsea, who is your pick for Paul?
Well, Paul's a piece of shit. So there's only one person that comes to mind, and that's fucking John Hamm.
John Hamm! We brought out the ham. The ham salad is on the table. Right on. How did I know?
I know, right?
All right, over to you, Sean. Who's your pick for Paul?
Well, I'm recasting this film as The Last Tango in Paris, Texas.
Oh, okay. I love it.
All American actors. So my actor is 48 years old as well. He was in My Dead Dad.
My Dead Dad.
He was in Scary Movie 5. Mm-hmm. And most recently, he was in Red Rocket. I went with Simon Rex.
Simon Rex. Okay, what was the middle one you said?
Scary Movie 5.
Okay. And the first one, My Dead Dad. I bet neither of those movies are as good as Red Rocket.
Oh, no.
All right, my pick is kind of a face value pick, but also kind of a he's got major acting chops pick. He's 54 now, a little bit older. He was in a movie with Meg Ryan called In the Cut. He's in a movie called The Kids Are All Right, and he's in a movie called Foxcatcher. His name is Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, Ruffy. That's
Mark
good.
Ruffalo.
Yep.
Chelsea,
I see.
can you
I like
see it?
Yeah, but he's way too fucking sweet.
Yeah, you
Right?
would never do that.
I can't.
You wouldn't do that. All right, next we've got Jeanne,
Genie.
played by Maria Schneider, sister of John Schneider, who was a Dukes of Hazzard. And she was only 19 at the time of this movie.
Yep.
When it came out, she was 19. Chelsea, who's your pick for this?
My actress was in Suicide Squad, Paper Towns, I can never say this.
Karenina.
Anna Karenina.
I can't say it. I get lost on those ends. I went with, and I also cannot say her last name, Cara Delevingne.
Cara Delevingne.
Yeah. Who is a survivor of the Me Too movement and fucking Harvey Weinstein, that piece of shit.
True. Good parallel. I like it. Over to you, Sean. Who's your pick?
I'm with an actress who's 19 years old. She was in Uncle Frank, Hansel and Gretel, and she was in It and its subsequent sequel where all the adult
What was the sequel called?
I don't know. It Returns, It Lives.
Just It 2.
Part 2, where all the adult men were lusting after her and we were supposed to be along for the ride. I went with Sophia Lillis.
All right. Well, I've got an actress who apparently I've chopped before because I recognize some of her credits. She's 22 now. She was in 47 Meters Down, Uncaged, The Book Thief, and The Kid Detective. Her name is Sophie Nellis.
Nice.
Sophie Nellis. We got one more, and it is Tomas. He's kind of a cuck, Tomas.
Yep.
In this scenario, but he is also portrayed as, like you said, the Gonzo director. We keep that in mind, and you said always shooting. He's married to his job more so than to his wife. All right, Chelsea, who do you got for this?
Well, I've got the king of cucks right now, Pete Davidson.
Why is Pete Davidson the king of cucks?
Because of him dating Kim Kardashian and
That's
the
stupid.
ongoing fucking saga between Kim, Kanye, and Pete. And he is playing right the fuck into it. He is being a cuck. They are all cucks.
I feel
they need
like
to shut the fuck up.
I feel like he shouldn't have done that.
No.
Like his career was going pretty good.
Did you hear about what he texted Kanye?
No.
So Kanye's pissed
like,
off that
Hey man, shut the fuck up.
no. Kanye's pissed that Kim keeps posting the kids on social media, specifically North. But then Pete starts to insert himself and then texts a picture like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he's like, "In your wife's bed," and like takes a selfie and sends it to him.
So you've got Pete Davidson, and I wish he would make better decisions in his relationships.
That's what makes him a cuck.
Over to you, Sean.
All right, Gonzo, director and cuck. I went with a 37-year-old actor. He was in Zoolander. He was in Saturday Morning All-Star Hits.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Brigsby Bear.
Yes.
I went with Kyle Mooney.
Kyle Mooney. Are you guys both doing an SNL thing?
No.
Okay.
Mine's just the Americans.
I only had one SNL.
But just for this pick, you're doing SNL? You guys did
I only had one SNL.
All right. Well, my pick for Tomas is a very continental actor. And so much so that you can't actually get a bead on what European country he's actually from. He was in a movie called Best Enemies and The Room. His name is Tommy Wiseau. Tommy Wiseau is going to be my Tomas. Speaking of gonzo directors.
And you don't know how old he is.
No, you can't find an age or a country of origin. He's like a mystery wrapped in a riddle. All right, so final thoughts on Last Tango in Paris, Texas.
Don't fucking watch this movie.
Don't watch it.
fucking
Chelsea has
gross.
strong feelings about it.
I
Sean,
think everyone should.
Yeah, there's better out there if you're looking for a well-made erotic drama.
Mm-hmm. Without the creep factor.
Without the creep factor.
Without the rape?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm trying to keep it what's on film and outside
That's
of all the
what's on
controversy.
film.
But even, there's better out there. There's better stuff out there, and I don't really understand why the high rating. That really does seem strange to me.
Fair enough. I agree with both of you. I think that there is some strength of performance in this movie, but not enough to justify the lengths that they went to get those performances. So that's going to bring us into intermission, but not before we say, let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves some...
A couple of cannolis.
Anything else?
I can't remember. Orange Julius.
Orange Julius Caesar.
Yes.
Caesar salad.
Because I always like that haircut. And for those of you just tuning in, you're listening to the Chop Shop Morning Zoo on WCCS 85.5 FM. The Shop with Travisito,
The Brew Boss.
And me, Chelsea, the Regulator. Well, we'll be breaking down the recast of your precious childhood movies.
all morning long. And if you can't listen on your toilet or in your car,
just search for Cinema Chop Shop on Podbean.com.
Well, hello there, all you naughty chop shoppers. So, you like to listen? Oh, you're bad. Wouldn't you also love to see all of our hot pictures and posts on our very own social media? Just search for Cinema Chop Shop on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, if you think you can handle it.
Do you need a used movie?
Good credit, bad credit, no problem.
come on down to Wacky Trav's Cinema Chop Shop Blowout Sale,
He's out of his mind.
where we can guarantee you'll go home happy. Social security number, criminal background check, and blood sample required. Side effects may include euphoria, hallucinations, and delusions of grandeur. So please remember to watch, chop, retrofit. And we are back. Thank you, Chop Shoppers, for bearing with us during intermission. Hope you enjoyed the advertisements and the radio ads during intermission. When we come back from intermission, Sean, what do we like to do?
Your check-ins.
And so the first one that we're checking in honor of Marlon Brando and his birth date is Stella Artois.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you picked these up because I was going around looking for a single. I didn't want a whole six-pack of them. There's nothing wrong with Stella. It's fine. It's a nice European lager, but it's also, it's Stella, you know? Yeah. It's basically the Budweiser of, you know, of Europe.
Yeah, but as like import beers go, it's like regular import beers, it's decent.
It's very relatable to people who aren't into a big variety of beer, I would say.
Correct. But I still wouldn't kick her out of bed.
Wouldn't kick her out of bed. We have another beer check-in?
We have a couple of check-ins.
There's a couple check-ins. We got another one. This is straight from your local brewery. It's Seminar Brewing. That's seminarbrewing.com. And this is one that I picked up today to go. You, the customers, can also get these to go in 4-packs of 16-ounce cans. And it's a New Zealand IPA called Silly Pukeko. Silly Pukeko, which I believe a pukeko is a bird.
I think so.
I think so too. And this beer was inspired by head brewer Jamie and former Seminar employee / manager Trevor and their trip to New Zealand. They went backpacking across New Zealand, and that was...
You can't fucking read anything on this can.
Well, I wouldn't know because I never learned how to read.
No, like the text is... It hurts my face looking at it. I can't read it.
I see what you're saying. It's
Does your face hurt? Because it's killing me.
It's white text with the orange stroke on an orange leaf. I would call that a graphic design shortcoming.
Fair enough.
That's being polite.
All right. So while we enjoy that, we are going to the 2022 movie marathon. And as of this recording, we are on the 91st day of the year. Is that right?
I think so.
Hold on. Here we go. 91st day of the year. And I'm on number 92. I'm one ahead of the day.
Woo!
I'm on 110.
110 and
104.
104, very respectable. And Chelsea, you're not going to give us any check-ins today because you don't have anything of note?
No, I really only got to the 3 movies for this podcast this week.
Fair
That's it.
enough. I mean, we have full-time jobs other than this.
Yeah.
For the listeners, we don't get paid for this. Sean, go ahead and give me your first check-in.
I'm going to check in a Brando movie. This is an iconic one. This is one that you see on posters. You see it's been imitated. It's been spoofed and parodied on SNL and blah, blah, blah. I'm going with The Wild One.
Oh, yeah, I'm a wild one.
From 1953. My review, more like The Mild One.
I did see that. Yes.
After seeing spoofs and send-ups, I finally watched this one. While she enjoyed a long career, I'm surprised Mary Murphy isn't a more well-known actress. She was totally adorable in this one. He's the leader of a fucking motorcycle gang.
He's the leader of the pack?
Yep, and they roll into town, and these ruffians start trouble in the very quiet corner of California. And in the process, Marlon Brando's character falls for the young lady who works in the cafe, whose father is also the sheriff of a very small
either
town.
the sheriff or the preacher.
Yeah, but the sheriff's kind of on his side, but the neighboring police force have a beef with Brando and his ruffians, and it's just dumb.
So I have 2 questions. How far removed, time-wise, is this from Rebel Without a Cause?
Probably
Fairly contemporary,
neck
right?
and neck is what I would say. A lot of the same sentiments. And,
how different is it?
very similar in that it's like, I'm a rebel, I'm a bad guy.
Yeah.
And it's like,
don't you see my leather jacket?
but by today's standards, you're like, are you?
Yeah.
Are you really?
What have you done bad lately?
No. Okay. Yeah, you didn't say excuse me.
You didn't
say
hold
please.
the door open?
Yeah. You're bad news, brother.
All right. I like it. My first check-in is going to be one that was suggested to me by friend of the show, Marco.
Fuck that guy.
And it's called The Hyperions. The Hyperions. It's a 2022 movie, and it's a non-traditional superhero movie that hits all the right notes, at least for me. Did you guys see this?
I know of this movie. I've not seen it.
Okay, so it stars Carrey Elwes, and he's the only, at least the only name that I recognized in it. But he's a scientist who invents the Titan badge in the 1960s, and it allows him to give superpowers to kids, but only a particular superpower and only if they're wearing their badge. And then some things run amok, and he decides to start rotating out the kids for the superhero roles. And then 2 of the now adult former Hyperions want their badges back. I thought it was great. One review I read online said it was as if Wes Anderson directed a superhero movie.
Okay.
And I agree with that.
It's funny you should say Wes Anderson. In my next check-in, I'm going to mention Wes Anderson. I watched 1998's The Celebration on Criterion.
The Celebration.
This is a Danish film.
Okay.
And I say, picture a Danish version.
Danish.
Picture a Danish version of the Royal Tenenbaums with even more dysfunctional family dynamics, and you're almost there.
Give me a little bit more, because I might have seen this.
A celebration of the patriarch's...
Give me a little bit smorgas.
Okay. A celebration of the patriarch's 60th birthday goes south when family secrets come to light.
I've totally seen this.
It's great.
This movie's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
Just when you think it's gonna stop, it just keeps getting cringier and cringier.
Yeah.
And
this
then
is great, dude.
And then racism.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. It is it's worth a watch. I recommend this one. It's my one of the week.
I'm gonna also tacitly recommend it because I know that I've seen it and I think that I liked it.
By the way, I popped open a new Anthem Brewing Radical Sun.
Radical Sun. Locals rule.
It's an American pale ale with Amarillo, Centennial, and Simcoe.
And New Anthem is out of Wilmington, North Carolina. All right. So my next one is going to be Jockey, the story of brief underwear. Actually, it's a compelling drama that sheds light on the brutal existence of racehorse jockeys. I'm going to struggle on the names of the actors in this. We've got an aging jockey who was very successful, is very successful, but he has sustained injuries over his career. And out of nowhere, a young, aspiring jockey comes into his realm of existence and claims to be his illegitimate son. And I do remember the name of the actor who plays the son. His name is Moises Arias, who's done some good things. I liked it. It had been on my radar for a little while. I'm glad I finally got to see it. All right, well, I've got one more. It's number 90 for me, and it's Death on the Nile. Death on the Nile is the newest adaptation of the Agatha Christie stories, directed by Kenneth Branagh, in which he plays Hercule Poirot, the greatest detective in the world. And they do an origin story on his mustache in this movie. I liked it better than Murder on the Orient Express. I think it's a perfectly fine popcorn mystery, even though I did figure out who the perpetrator was before the end. All right, so that wraps us up on the 2022 movie marathon for this week, bringing us to the second part of our feature segment, The Recast Continued.
Part 2.
And this is going to be one that I think that we all can say we prefer to the first part, right?
Yeah.
This is one that I am ashamed to say I had never seen until this week. And I'm amazed at how much I did not know about the plot. Like, the tropes and the outstanding lines, the oft quoted lines, but until you actually watch it, geez Louise, this is an excellent movie in my opinion. It's A Streetcar Named Desire from 1951, directed by Elia Kazan. It's got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Disturbed Blanche Dubois moves in with her sister in New Orleans and is tormented by her brutish brother-in-law while her reality crumbles around her. Now, having seen this for the first time just this week, and I did watch it in 2 parts, and it kind of felt like the first half and the second half were 2 separate movies. But at first, I was like, Stanley's a fucking asshole. And then I was like, oh, Blanche is crazy. And then I was like, oh, well, Stella is allowing things to happen and basically being what's the word for somebody who...
Enabler.
An enabler, yes. And I walked away from it saying, yes, this is amazing. This is an amazing movie. There are some amazing performances, but there are no heroes.
Right.
There are no heroes in this movie. Maybe the woman upstairs.
Not even.
Maybe the psychiatrist at the end. What else? I want to hear your guys' opinion about this.
It's typical of Tennessee Williams, family drama. Everybody's fucked up. Everybody's kind of sleazy, much like The Fugitive kind. Everybody's got their dirt. And it's only exacerbated by these close quarters that they're living in this tiny apartment in New Orleans.
So I think the reason that film has a high rating on Rotten Tomatoes is because of the play, the things Tennessee Williams wrote. Because I watched this movie for the first time, but I've read this play and seen it performed many times.
Okay.
I did not like this movie.
So do you feel like the play hit some notes that this did not? Because I've never seen the play.
Well, here's the thing. I read it before I saw it. So I already had something in my head. And nothing will measure up to that.
Right.
But the play was really good to read. It was an actual page turner as plays go.
I definitely thought that Brando pulled off the brutish husband, but there was also scenes where he was vulnerable, like about being called a brute or a Pollock. There was definitely scenes where he was abusive to women in his life. Let me ask you guys. The night where Blanche goes to the hospital and is about to give birth and he comes home alone, was he about to rape her?
I think that's the implication.
All right. So let me ask you this. That same night, earlier in the evening, when Mitch comes by and he's drunk and he says, no, I don't think I want to marry you anymore. But he's being kind of aggressively close to her. Was he about to rape her?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it was this two sides of him, like this side of wanting to want this thing, but realizing like, whoa, she's the crazy train. I need to get the fuck out of here.
Yep.
Fair. Anything else we need to say about the movie before we get into recasting it?
No, just my recast is amazing, so let's go.
We need to watch this movie if you have not already. The first role that we're going to recast is Blanche Dubois, played by Vivien Leigh. And Vivien Leigh was brought in for star power, replacing the original Broadway cast member Jessica Tandy, as we mentioned last week. Chelsea, who do you have as Blanche?
I'm choosing Hilary Burton.
Hilary Burton.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She's married to Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh, Negan.
Yeah, Negan. She was also on a CW sitcom. This recast is inspired by you, my dude.
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
So what do I have to do with the CW?
You'll find the fuck out soon enough.
I've never actually even watched the CW. Wait, is that what used to be the WB?
Yes.
And they combined with UPN?
Yes.
Is that right?
You are so on top of it, man.
All right. So, Sean, your pick for Blanche.
Oh, man. I love this pick. I fucking love this pick. This is going to be her big dramatic breakthrough.
Okay.
She's 38 years old. She is a voice on the Magic School Bus.
Okay.
She was on Rough Night. She was on Bombshell. She was on the All-Girl Ghostbusters. I'm going with Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon! Right on. Now, Kate McKinnon, obviously amazing comedian. We have yet to see her in a dramatic role, I think. Will her personal sexuality, she is a lesbian, correct?
Correct.
Will that come into play into the character?
No.
I don't think so. She's
Doesn't
an
need
actress.
to.
No.
Doesn't need to. Okay. But it might add in like a modern remake, it might add an element.
A wrinkle.
Yeah.
I don't even think so. I think she's good at being hot for men.
I'm picturing her playing it straight, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm. So do you think the rumors about Blanche in Oriole were true? About the Flamingo Hotel and her running through all those men? She basically admitted it.
Yeah.
And to getting it on with a 17-year-old student and for causing her young lover's suicide. She wasn't the greatest. My pick for Blanche Dubois is 39 now as well. She was in Escape to Witch Mountain, I think the remake. She's in The Old Man and the Gun and The Invisible Man. Her name is Elizabeth Moss.
Ew, we hate her.
I like her.
No, she's a Scientologist.
Well, maybe she was born into it. Next, we've got Stanley Kowalski, played by Marlon Brando. I'm sorry, Brandon Marlowe. I really hope there's an actor somewhere out there named Brandon Marlowe.
My actor was in House of Wax, A Cinderella Story, Freaky Friday. I went with Chad Michael Murray.
Didn't you get really mad at me for picking him?
I really fucking did.
Okay.
It was a great movie.
Okay.
And you recast this dumbass.
Sean, over to you, buddy. Sorry, do I need to keep doing the cues?
No.
Yeah, over to you, Sean.
This actor's 26. Ironically, he played Caesar in the TV miniseries The Offer. It's in pre-production, I guess.
Yeah, The Offer is a story about the making of The Godfather.
Yeah. So he is also, he's been in The Mandalorian. He was in a film called Eat Brains Love.
Okay.
And he was in Nurse Jackie.
Ooh, love that show.
His name is Jake Cannavale.
Oh, Jake Cannavale.
Not Bobby, but Jakey.
Yeah, I can see it. I like yours a little bit better than mine, actually. I went pure face value, but he's going to have to bulk up.
Okay.
To play the role of Stanley. He's going to actually have to work in the machine shop and get a little bit more ripped. But he's 28 now as well. He was in The Goldfinch. He was in West Side Story and Baby Driver. I went with Ansel Elgort.
Yeah, I shopped him. Yep.
Ansel Elgort. Next, we've got Stella, played by Kim Hunter, who was 30 at the time. Not classically beautiful.
No.
But definitely had a presence. And she was a complicated character as well. Everybody in this movie has their
baggage,
their pitfalls and their baggage. And gosh, it's just...
I think that's what makes them so relatable.
It's an intriguing story. It really is.
You should read the play.
I don't know. I'd have to first learn how to read. And then... All right. Chelsea, who is your pick for Stella?
My actress was in John Tucker Must Die, some weird movie called The Hitcher, some other weird movie called Stay Alive. I went with Sophia Bush.
Sophia Bush. She's the little-known Bush triplet.
Yeah.
The third of the Bush triplets.
Yeah, nailed it.
Sean, what do you got?
My actress is 28 years old. She was in The Bling Ring, The Final Girls, and American Horror Story. I'm with Tessa Farmiga.
Tessa Farmiga. I like it. Little sister of Vera Farmiga, as we've established on this show.
Many times.
My actress for Stella is 34 now. She was in Practical Magic back in the 90s.
All right.
She's in the Ides of March and Kajillionaire. I went with Evan Rachel Wood.
Oh, nice.
Evan Rachel Wood is going to be my Stella, and I think she can pull this off for real, considering some recent trauma in her life.
Correct.
We've got one more, and it is the role of Mitch. Mitch isn't even a hero. He might be one of the most decent people in the movie, but he's still not a hero.
Yep.
Played by Carl Malden. We've talked about Carl Malden before.
Yep.
He has a prominent proboscis, but there's more to him than that. I think he's a pretty good actor. Would you not say so?
Yeah, I love
Carl Malden's the shit, right?
And he's also was in a film with Marlon Brando before, On the Waterfront.
On the Waterfront, not to be confused with All Is Quiet on the Western Front.
Correct.
Chelsea, who's your pick for Mitch?
Well, if you haven't guessed my theme by now, you definitely won't get it by this pick.
If you didn't guess it by now,
Was in some movie called Everyone is Doing Great from 2021. Some movie called Oculus from 2013. I went with James Lafferty.
James Lafferty's one of my favorites, dude.
Yeah,
No,
cool.
he's the shit.
Yeah.
I mean, every time that he is like in a funny situation, I just Lafferty my ass off.
What's
And
my theme then?
your theme? You went with John Michael Montgomery.
Chad Michael Murray, Hillary Burton, Sophia Bush, James Lafferty.
Oh, is it all people who ran for president? Their first
No.
names ran for president.
It's all the main characters from One Tree Hill, the stupid ass.
I don't know
show.
about One Tree Hill.
Well, I know, but I fucking drop knowledge on you when you recast Chad Michael Murray.
So that was okay.
CW show, right?
Yeah. It's fucking terrible.
okay.
God, it was fucking terrible.
So you went all One Tree Hill on me.
I really did.
Oh, shit. Well, mine's no connection, and there's no theme in my pick. I went with a 38-year-old actor. He was in The Wolf of Wall Street, Moneyball, Don't Look Up, and Superbad. I went with Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill.
I like it.
But he's not old enough, is he?
38.
Yeah.
How old was Carl Malden?
Carl Malden was 39.
All right. Well, I cast an actor who's 60 now. He was in Casper, Music and Lyrics, and Gleason. I went with Brad Garrett.
Nice.
Oh my God.
Good pick.
That is good.
I mean, because he seems older, right? He could still be like worried about his mom. Mitch was very obsessed with his mom, even though she's sick. All right, final thoughts on A Streetcar Named Desire. Have you ever ridden that streetcar before?
No, I've not, and I would say watch The Fugitive Kind instead.
No, I say read the play version of this.
I
And
say
then
watch the movie for the first time.
No, read the play.
All right, we do have a bonus segment, which is going to be a battle royale between Dunk Baby. And, no, not really. It's going to be a battle royale between Marlon Brando, Marlon Wayans, and an actual Marlon.
Oh, shit. And the Florida Marlins.
No, it's the fish.
No, I want the baseball team.
They've got like a very pointy nose and like a sail as a fin.
I'm going with Brando.
Brando.
I'm going with the fucking fish.
I'm going Wayans.
Oh, shit.
Nice.
Split decision.
Nice.
Love it.
All right. So we're going to wrap it up. Chelsea, I want to thank you for doing everything that you did this week. And is there anything that you would like to plug?
No, but I apologize for missing the second half. Last week, I just could not stop sneezing.
No, understood. You're allergic to bullshit. So
Yes.
That's understandable. I want to thank the engineer, my co-host and co-producer. Thank you for doing everything that you do. Anything that you want to plug?
I want to give a shout out to my new neighbors next door. Here's hoping they're okay.
With podcasting. Do you know what next week's episode is?
Oh my God.
Speaking of Russia, the films of Steven Seagal.
His name's Steve Seagal, and I'm lethal. And when we smoke weed, we look like Vietnamese people. Ironically, our peers, the Dollop podcast, they did are in the midst of a two-parter on Steven Seagal, which is actually his name before he changed it to Seagal to sound more cool. And apparently he's a real piece of shit. But we're still going to talk about a couple of his movies. But I do have a sneak preview question and answer for next week's trivia dealing with Steven Seagal. I'm torn about which one of you is going to get this first. Steven Seagal has 3 children with what American actress and model?
Kim Cattrall.
No.
I have no fucking idea.
I thought for sure one of you would know this. It's Kelly LeBrock. Kelly LeBrock and Steven Seagal were married for many years.
That's right,
and have
they sure were.
3 children together. Yes, it's a weird science. We want to plug the podcast itself. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and all of your podcatcher apps. We are hosted online natively on podbean.com. We're Cinema Chop Shop on there. We are at Cinema Chop Shop on Twitter. We are Cinema Chop Shop on Facebook. cinemachopshop@gmail.com if you feel the need to email this podcast. We're also at Cinema Chop Shop on Instagram. Cinema Chop Shop on Untapped, where we check in all of these awesome beers. And then on YouTube, we are Cinema Chop Shop Podcast, where you can watch an audio version of a show. And finally, farewell. Thank you to you, the listeners. Fuck Putin, fuck Will Smith, and free Ukraine. And please remember to watch, shop, retrofit. #DunkBaby.